Hello again guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about a few skirmish war games that I play and enjoy. Again, more or less for beginners, due to the fact you need far less miniatures, which means less time painting, less time organising and more time playing. So we're going to start with the more well-known ones, and we're going to start with Games Workshop. Down the fantasy route we have Warcry, and I'm sure those of you who are into war games already know about this system. It's a really good system. In fact, it's the only Age of Sigmar that I actually play. Again, for war bands, small groups, very easy to play and pick up. You want to get the core rule book, obviously. It needs to tell you how to play everything. And you may also want to pick up the compendium. Now this has every single miniature from every single faction in the actual game that are currently available from Games Workshop. How easy it is to play? Well, my actual Warcry warband at the minute is only 3 models. It's called colloquially as, I believe, the Thundercat list. It's 3 Stormcast Eternals all mounted on Celestial Dracolines. Just 3 miniatures, that's my entire warband. Again, very easy to collect, very easy to paint, quickly to paint, get them on the table and start playing. So that one is Warcry from Games Workshop. If you want to go down the sci-fi route with Games Workshop, obviously we have Kill Team. Kill Team is the 1/40,000 version. It's a bit more complicated rules-wise than Warcry. This one, I believe, is the 2021 version. They did bring out one earlier, which was the 2018 version, which is the one I actually play and prefer. But the one you can get nowadays is the 2021 version. But I believe they're coming out with a new one very shortly. They usually go on 3-year cycles, and it's been 3 years since this one was out. Again, you want to pick up the core rule book, obviously for the rules. And there are compendiums again, which have all your factions, the troop choices, whichever faction you fancy playing. I have quite a lot of kill teams for this because I just use my Warhammer 40,000 miniatures. So I've got a Necron, Eldar, Space Marine, Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Sororitas. I have quite a few kill teams for the game. Get an annual, which brings out new rules, new variants, new scenarios. But again, all you really need to do to start playing is pick up the core rule book and the compendium, which again gives you every single race in 40k to play Kill Team, and the core rule book depending on what faction you want. Again, very few models, between 3 and 10 models per side as usual. Get them painted up real quick, get them on the tabletop and start playing. Another Games Workshop product I want to suggest is not available anymore. It's Warhammer Fantasy Battle Skirmish. Now, this is going to be quite difficult to get hold of. This is the 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy rulebook for the big battles. But if you go to page 262 to 266, I think it is, it has the rules for Warhammer Skirmish, where again you only have a very few models per side. I'm lucky to have this as well, which I picked up at the time. I mean, this, I'm going back 23, 24 years since this come out. You might want to look on eBay. Might be available. New scenarios and hobby projects for the skirmish game. Those of you who are familiar with Mordheim, which I also own, it's basically the Mordheim rules, but you're not actually playing in the city of Mordheim. If you want to start Mordheim, it's one of the very best Games Workshop have ever produced. There is an online community who are very dedicated and passionate about it. So again, just pop online, check out Mordheim, type in Mordheim, and it'll take you to the community websites where everything there is available currently for the game. As I say, it's probably one of the best Games Workshop have ever brought out. But this is the fantasy version, which again, you're not actually playing in the city of Mordheim, so you can have wood elves and things like that in it as well, which obviously is one of my favourite Warhammer Fantasy armies. But again, if you can grab hold of the 6th edition rulebook, I'll just have a look in and see what pages the actual rules are. But the rules for it are in the 6th edition rulebook. So hang fire with me a minute. Table of contents. Page 242. Let's go to that. Here we go. These are the Warhammer skirmish rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of rules. That's it. All you need for that, as I say, is your relevant army book, whichever army you want to play as, and the Warhammer 6th edition rulebook. Gives you everything you need to start playing using the basic rules for Warhammer Fantasy Battles. And again, if you want to try and pick up this, it's just new projects, new scenarios, using the same system of rules. So you see it's getting a bit battered. I'd say this is 20 odd years old now. But again, very good skirmish game. Again, available online. A Games Workshop product. Moving on now to perhaps some non-Games Workshop games. Osprey Games and Joseph McCullough, again, quite well-known systems these days. Frostgrave and Stargrave, again, small war bands, 10 miniatures per side. The fantasy version, very similar to Mordheim, except this time you're going into a frozen city, trying to collect treasures and get out as quickly as you can, if you don't fancy going down the Games Workshop route. Again, very cheap rule, but I believe it's around £25–30 in the UK. And if you want the fantasy version, Stargrave. And again, there's a hell of a lot of supplements for these again these days, but starting off, get yourself the main rule books, £25–30, $35–40, and you're on your way to starting playing skirmish games. Very few miniatures to paint. North Star military games do bring out specific figures for them, but again, you're not forced to use them. You can use whatever figures you already have. Again, very quick, easy rule set, easy to get into, quick to play, quick to get onto the table, and have a lot of fun with them. I particularly like these two games. Again, great rule systems from Joseph McCullough and Osprey Games. If you go onto North Star Military's website, they do deals where you get the rule book and I think it's a couple of boxes of miniatures for a reduced price. But again, your mileage may vary, so if you want to try those, they're really fun games to play. Sticking with Osprey, we're now going to get probably the cheapest war game you can get into from the start, and this is from Mike Hutchison, and it's called Gaslands Refueled. Again, pick up the rule book, £25–30, and all you need for this is a couple of Hot Wheels Corgi Matchbox cars, and you just start playing. So less than £40 you can get started in Gaslands Refueled. All your tokens, movement, templates, vehicle, record sheets are all in the back of the rule book, so you don't even have to. You can buy plastic things again for your movement, again from North Star Military actually, but you don't have to. You can photocopy these, stick them on a piece of card, and away you go. With D6 system, you can get specialised dice, but you don't have to. You can use normal D6s instead of the special dice that you can get from North Star and other manufacturers. But again, everything, look, I mean, everything's in there. You don't even have to customise your cards if you don't want to, but again, you can get some spare machine guns, data them up with a quick paint job, stick some weapons on, rules for tanks, Mad Maxi style post-apocalyptic gaming. Very cheap. All you need is the rule book and a couple of Corgi cars, Hot Wheels cars, Matchbox cars. It's that scale, and again, very cheap. Just get the rule book, couple of cars, and away you go. Gaslands Refueled, excellent game. Moving on now to some other systems that I like. Uncle Atom and Vince Venturella over at Snarling Badger Studios. I've got these two, Space Station Zero and Majestic 13. Sci-fi games. They also do Rain in Hell, where you have a band of demons, or the new one that's just come out, Death Wizards, where it's I believe you're a necromancer with a band of undead that you go back into a city and take over from normal people. But these are the two I've got so far. Space Station Zero, again, just need a crew of between 4 and I believe it's 8 models. You're lost in a space station. You go through a branching scenario campaign with this, trying to escape the space station and get back to where you came from. Really good system. All your scenarios laid out for you. You pick a type of crew to fight through a space station, trying to find the way out. Really good. Majestic 13, again, you need less models. You only ever have 5 models in this for your team. And I like this because I was a big fan of the X-Files in the day, and it's got X-Files vibes. You're basically fighting off an alien menace that's come to Earth. Again, solo and co-op play, and if you want to fight against another person's team, you can. That's the same thing obviously with Space Station Zero as well, solo and co-op mainly, but you can fight against, there are rules for fighting against another player, but these are really good solo and co-op games. So again, Snarling Badger Studios. Go take a look if you fancy those. There's also another couple that I would mention. A Song of Blades and Heroes. Andrea Sfigioli and Ganesha Games. He's an Italian guy. And that is a very simple system because all of your war bands have only 3 stats. So again, a very quick and easy game to get into. Any miniatures you've got you can use. Miniature agnostic, I believe the term is these days. So there's that as well. If you want to go down the historic route rather than fantasy or sci-fi, there's a couple of games here that are my favourites in the system. Futsal Miniatures, Mortal Gods, Skirmish War Games in Ancient Greece. Again, very quick and easy rules system to get into. Basically, you have a band of 10, as little as 10 miniatures per side, fighting battles in ancient Greece. They have in recent years come out with a lot more supplements as well, card driven. So again, all your stats of your leaders and your units are on cards. You group up your warriors, you can have them individual or group them up into units of 3, which then all come together to form a phalanx. So the style of Greek warfare is incorporated into the game. Specialist dice come in the box game set, and they've also come out with a lot of add-ons for the game, expansions, supplements, whatever you will. There is a Persian set now, Persian set of cards, so you can fight the Persian wars against Greece. You can even fight the Peloponnesian wars, because I also have the 2 box sets for Athens and Sparta. So again, there are a couple of expansions for them. And they've even gone so far as the Mythic set. So if you're a big fan of Jason and the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans, those sort of movies, you've got all the rules again for this in this supplement. So you can go on the Argonauts voyage, fighting Cyclopses, Centaurs, Minotaurs, Medusa and the Gorgons. It's all in here. Jason and the Argonauts, Heracles, Bellerophon from Clash of the Titans, Perseus, Odysseus, all the mythic Greek stuff is in here. The rules for those are all in here, which also uses also the same system as the Mortal Gods. So Futsal Miniatures, give them a look on the website, Futsal Miniatures. Most of their miniatures they do produce of their own, but you can also go the cheaper option and buy yourself some Greek hoplites from Victrix. But I say the box set does come with 2 complete starter forces. The Mortal Gods box set comes with those. Getting very cheap, everything in the box that needs to get you started. Finally, one that I'm quite fond of, but I believe there is a 2nd edition these days, Muskets and Tomahawks, Skirmish War Games in Colonial North America. Obviously between mostly England and France. Again, card driven system, where you put all your cards of your forces into a deck and you draw a card, and whichever unit the card is, they get to move and do all their actions. So again, it's not I go, you go, it's whatever cards come out. Really good system for a period of war that not a lot of people cover. There's plenty of this actually will cover American War of Independence, or the Revolutionary Wars as they call them in the States. But this predominantly is the colonial period, just before the mid to late 1700s, but you can do American War of Independence with it as well. Miniatures for these, I would suggest Perry Miniatures do a range, but my personal preference is Galloping Major Games. Now, all these miniatures are metal, but they're all one piece, so you don't have to do any super gluing. Go over to Galloping Miniature Games. Give Lance, he's a one-man operation. He's a really nice guy. I've met him personally. Give him some love, buy some of his miniatures. They're really good quality for all the miniatures you'll need. I mean, there's a British Force, the American War of Independence, 200 points. What's that? 3, 6, 9, 12, 16, 20 models. That's all you need to start playing. But again, I prefer the actual colonial French Indian Wars, which is a period that not many people do, and it's always fascinated me. Studio Tomahawk is the company that produces it. French company, I believe they have a second edition out now, which you can get, and they've also come out with some expansions for it, which cover that, I believe, the Zulu Wars and the wars in colonial India, I believe, which the second edition covers. Not periods that I'm particularly interested in. They'll say I'm more the French Indian War myself. So Studio Tomahawk is the company that produces muskets and tomahawks. This is the first edition, but there is a second edition which unfortunately I haven't purchased yet. I will be looking into it shortly. Miniatures, type in French Indian 28mm, but I would suggest Galloping Major. Go over, give them a look, reasonably priced. They come in packs of 6, which is basically a single unit that you play within muskets and tomahawks. Give Lance some love over at Galloping Major if you fancy taking a look at the French Indian Wars or skirmishing in the American Revolutionary War. Okay guys, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to my inane drivel as usual. Next time I will be looking at a review of the Army Painter starter set for the new Fanatic paints. It's probably the best and cheapest starter paint set, again, for all you who wishes to start the games. So hopefully you'll join me for that one. So until then guys, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.